Okay, so I've decided to go ahead and do another one of these videos that was going to be for this Monday morning, but something went wrong with YouTube last night. Evidently, I was trying to upload way too many videos, and I uploaded a 2.5 hour video playthrough of one of the games I was playing, and that one uploaded fine and on a timely fashion. At the exact same time, I was also uploading a probably 8 to 9 minute video just like this, very bare bones, not a lot of editing, not a lot of file size to it, and it has taken around 29 hours to upload. So I don't know what's going on with it. The other video I was talking about my cat having to go to the vet, nothing serious. It was just for a dental cleaning and everything, but that was Radar. He is home, he is fine. I would pick him up, but he is extremely loopy from the medication and the anesthetic that the anesthetic he was on. Is that it? Yeah, that's the word. I keep thinking of that. I keep thinking of anesthesia, all this other stuff. Speaking of loopy minds, you ever have those moments in life when you do something and you place something down and you cannot find it? This, just a simple thing of super glue. Took this off. Was repairing some of my jewelry, just a bead that had gotten a metal part of it that came off. So I glued it back down. All I did was set this down right here on the workbench. And I took this and I walked back here to my other workstation and glued it down, worked on it, and spent the last 15 minutes in a space that is probably only about 6 to 8 feet in distance from each other. I couldn't find that. Now here's what's so messed up. See this? In my head, I thought it was green. I looked at it, and from a designer standpoint, it would have made sense that the cap and the back end would have been red. It just in my head when I saw it, I was like, of course. I've looked at this over and over. I love this super glue applicator, and the only reason why I'm going on about this is I'm beginning to realize through therapy, through a lot of mental health stuff that I've been going through, that whether it's my diet is terrible, my brain is starving for water, whatever it is, that is terrifying. And it could be old age. It could be anything. Could be all of the injuries from rugby and doing security and skateboarding that are catching up with me. But the fact that I couldn't find this goddamn cap, and I was moving everything on here, but the thing was that I had, and it was sitting in the same area, so I didn't think about it, but I had recently come across some of these little transformable Bakugan toys that I had picked up. I just like to collect those on the side, but they're about the same color. So when I was looking, I didn't see it. And it didn't make sense because in my head, the cap was green. That is the most disturbing thing in the world. And I'm beginning to realize that I have a bad habit where if I can't get something specifically done or specifically found, everything else goes out the freaking window. Can't focus on it. Can't deal with it. Can't do anything else until I find and rectify this problem. I don't know how many of you all deal with that, but that is maddening. I don't know if it's ADD, ADHD, HDTV. I have no idea. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I know there's medication for it, but I also have an addictive personality, so what am I supposed to do with that? According to my doctor, it's pretty terrible. He would not recommend any sort of medication for this because he's like, no, you have an addictive personality, gambling, all this other stuff. You don't want to do this sort of thing because I may not be very good with medication. And I'll admit, I'm not. I really am not. I truly do have an addictive personality. Speaking of addictive personalities, I would definitely like to recommend that one of my addictions is going to shows. I do love going to them. And this coming Saturday, I believe, yes, it's Saturday, I shall be out at Planet Comicon. For those of you that don't know what Planet Comicon it is the largest pop culture, comic, cosplay kind of show in, I dare say, the Midwest. I think. I'm not sure. I don't have numbers. I don't know. I'm not in charge of the show. I have no idea. But I do know every single time I go there, I am overwhelmed. Well, I used to do the show a long time ago. I never did very well there financially, but I am going this time because there's a ton of people that I know. Friends and colleagues and all sorts of things that I want to catch up on. A lot of people that I haven't picked up anything from in years, if ever. And I wanted to rectify that this year. So fingers crossed everything will work fine. The plan is to get out there super early. My brother's going with me, and we're going to be heading out, and finding a parking spot and then making the long jaunt over to the hall, Memorial Hall, Bartle Hall. And I kept thinking of, I don't know why I was thinking about Memorial Hall. That was on my head earlier I was thinking about a Megadeth show from a long, long, long time ago. And once we get there, the only real sort of thing I had in mind was, going around, catching up with everyone, and then ending the day with the 5 p.m. start of Adam Savage's panel, which I think will be phenomenal. I went to the last one he did, and that was great. I have a little bit of footage somewhere here on YouTube. I think it's in one of the playlists covering shows. There's a little bit of that in there. I'm going to try and record more of it, but I don't want to sit there the entire time recording. And I had just picked up a monopod that I thought, I can carry that around with me. I don't want to carry that around all show. I'm going to have a backpack on me anyway, and probably a few other bags carrying some other things. I didn't really want to do that, especially since I know I want to be picking up a bunch of stuff from other people. It was just going to be cumbersome. I'd much rather support everybody as opposed to trying to get all the footage I possibly can. Nonetheless, the week has been good. I can't... For what it's worth. It's still very strange here in the studio. Not having my cat Luna around is definitely weird. I mean, Radar is cool. He's over here on our blanket right now, making himself comfortable. But it's a bit of a shock to the system. And I'll end with this. One of the real challenges that I found for myself this year, I thought it was going to be like, okay, I'm feeling, some creative rut stuff. I'm feeling burned out. All those things were true. But one of the other things I've started to realize about myself is that I consistently have this urge to want to have everything just line up perfectly and all my ducks in a row and all the circumstances and everything just measure up. And that's just not how life works. It's not. And, that's a hard pill for me to swallow because I want to excel in what I'm doing and what I'm creating and all these other things. And when I don't have things line up how I'd like in this vain search for perfection, then I never get anything done. It was the same sort of thing I used to go through producing YouTube videos because I wanted everything to be just right. I wanted there to be a certain amount of music or a certain amount of whatever, and each one had to be this epic thing. And I thought, no, it just needs to be done. It'll get better over time. I'll get better at speaking. I'll, be able to do far more things with it. And then one of the other frustrating things I had was, and if you've been following any of these videos, you know what I'm talking about. I had lined up an effort to go ahead and make a podcast episode that was going to be on here and then maybe across Spotify and some other places, and restarting my old podcast, but this time with people involved. The first time did not go well, not because of the guest. Cameron was fantastic. Everything was really fun. It was great. I ended up where I didn't set levels on the microphones right, and then the footage just wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I took that hit, and I was like, you know what? That's okay. That was a dry run, it was a live run, but it worked. It worked to find the faults, the chinks in the armor that I needed to find to make something better come of it. And that's great. If that's all that ended up happening, then fantastic. It means I have another shot at it. And thankfully, Cameron is gracious enough to go ahead and come back for it again and do it again. And that's great. So we just got to try and figure that out. What that also made me do is really start working on this back end of the studio because, fingers crossed on this, eventually this part of the studio will become a small podcasting area. It was never really designed to be that. There's some other areas I was looking at that might go into, but this one will probably end up staying here in the studio. And if it does, I think it's going to work out really well. And it's always one of those things. If there's anything I've learned from this, just because shit doesn't go the way you think, maybe, just maybe, there's some other hidden silver lining in there that tells you, well, this can work too. And it never really comes out the way you picture it. Rarely. But it can still work. And that's probably the most important thing I'm learning out of all this. And that's the case today, too, with my cat going in. I was a nervous fucking wreck all day. Like, until they called and said he was all right. Even then, but until I went and picked him up at the vet. I had this, just a knot in my stomach. I had heartburn, everything. That could have been the pizza. But still, I was terrified, like, what if something happened? And then I end up hurting myself more by freaking out about the stuff that hasn't even happened yet, which is just stupid. So, I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. There will be a new video game playthrough on Wednesday. I hope I will have another video that will be covering this tool right here, which was from a Kickstarter. And this is pretty interesting. So far, the footage on it has been interesting with everything. And surprisingly, the art and tool reviews playlist has been getting the most amount of hits and the most amount of follows. As of right now, I believe I'm up to 171 subscribers watched. By the time this video goes up, that number might drop. And that's been amazing. I'm really happy with that. My goal for the end of the year was 1,000 subscribers, and I feel like I can probably do that. That's pretty good. I mean, you know, it is kind of shocking, though. Like, YouTube, it took me 10 years to get to where I am now because I wasn't that great at it, even though I got like 371 videos on here or something like that. And then I thought about how when I went on TikTok, it took me about a month to get 1,000 followers. And I just don't understand. I mean, granted, one's short form video or whatever, but it's just whatever it's going to be. So, yeah. Anyway, for all of you getting ready for Planet Comicon, by the way, as I'm talking, I'm just going to go ahead and start putting up pictures of people that are going to be at the show. Feel free, if you know any of these people, to stop by and say hi and pick up their stuff and just talk to them or just whatever. I highly recommend everyone I'm putting up on here. They're all incredibly skilled, talented, and just wonderful people. And I'm all the much better for knowing every single person you're seeing here. I'm certain I'm not going to get everybody up here that I know, and I know I'm forgetting some. I'm trying to share them on Facebook and everywhere else I possibly can so that people that know me, since I'm not going to be at the show, I certainly want other people to sell and to have a good time and to be able to have their stuff available for you to buy and read and enjoy on your wall and stuff like that. I mean, Lord knows this studio is filled with all kinds of people's creations that I really enjoy and adore. So with that, thanks for watching. I am Murray the Artisan Rogue, and if you happen to be out at Planet Comicon, and you see me wandering around, and I look like this, but if you see me hanging around there or something like that, please come up and say hi. I don't mind. I've had people come up and say that sort of thing, and that's great. And I really appreciate it when people come and say, hey, I really like your YouTube channel, or man, your TikTok has been really cool, or whatever. Even if you come up and you say, hey, man, I really don't like your content, that's cool. I'd like to know what else I can do to maybe fix that. Oh, I'm so loopy. I am so nuts. All right, maybe I do need water. Feels like it. You guys have a good night. And if you're heading toward Planet, if you're vending or showing your wares or whatever, I hope you have a fucking awesome show. And if you're attending, I hope you have an amazing time at the show. There's so many amazing creators, makers, writers, cosplayers, everything out there. Have fun, guys, and look forward to some sort of video highlighting some of the stuff I see there this next Monday. Catch you then.